So here is the deal. This isn't really a full-blown, super in-depth review, but the truth is, it doesn't need to be. When Anders from Hegel let me know that this stack of reference gear was making its way to a couple of folks for a long-term review, but was curious if I wanted to take it for a spin around the block, well, that was an easy yes. So let's get this part right. Even though I haven't spent near the amount of time that I normally would on either of these pieces, I do believe that my first impressions might be useful enough to fire up the old camera and tell you guys what I think. And with a warm welcome back to New Record Day, that's exactly what I'm gonna do. So before we dive in, this video is being sponsored by Safe and Sound. And while they aren't responsible for sending me this gear, they do carry Hegel products and love what Hegel brings to the table. With lifetime, yes, lifetime technical support, flexible payment options, and a large selection of Hegel models to choose from, including this flagship stack of bone-crushing, sonic-slamming, what the holy what is going on around here, Safe and Sound will be thrilled to get you up and running in a quick hurry. All the links that you need are down below in the description, and please let them know that Ron sent you. They are awesome to work with and will get you rocking out in no time. Hegel calls the P30A Preamplifier the conductor, and you know what? I completely agree. It didn't take long to not only get used to the sonic goodies being tossed my way by the P30A, but it was easy to understand that what I like about so many preamps and love about this guy is this guy does one thing and one thing only. It gets out of the way. Like I've mentioned in the Serene review, and I'll also be chatting about in the upcoming Benchmark preamp review, for me, a preamp hits a home run when it simply plays the music and nothing else. Now don't get me wrong here, I can fall in love with the magic of a tube preamplifier just as much as the next guy, but to be honest, if we're talking about solid state preamps, I tend to appreciate the preamp's voicing to be, well, no voicing at all. That in the end, what the preamp does is simply allows you to connect your gear and control it with ease. At the same time, getting to know the P30A and trying it with a wide range of different amplifiers, it occurred to me that if Hegel does have some kind of a house sound or inherent voicing that's unique to them, that perhaps the voicing is more reliant on the amplifier than the preamp. Now, I can't speak to that with authority, and if my assumption here is right, but I can tell you that when it comes to what I'm hearing with the P30A, this thing is about transparency and simply playing the music as the artist intended. At no point while connected to this beast of a power amplifier right here, or any other power amp, did I tell myself, there seems to be something following me around as I connect this preamp to other power amplifiers. No, the truth is, I heard predictable results with familiar gear, and when the dust settled, I felt like this preamp, the conductor, is just as transparent as any high-end preamp that I've reviewed or even heard for that matter. Now, as for connections and specifications, I'm not going to bore you or get into the weeds, but I'll mention this before we move on. This is a flagship preamp, and it's made to do one thing, be a preamp. It does not have or include a DAC, a phono stage, a can opener, or AirPlay, or anything else for that matter. This might ignite the YouTube engineers and snake oil keyboard warriors, and that's totally fine. I actually understand where they're coming from, but here's the deal. I've been around some really high-end stuff, and this is pretty typical. And you know what? I believe it's the right move to make. I mean, if somebody is really going to go all out and pick up gear of this caliber, do you really think they're going to settle for anything that's tossed in as an afterthought? I don't know about you, but I wouldn't. So, the conductor is a fully balanced preamplifier that has 5 inputs, 2 of them being XLR and 3 RCA. It offers home theater bypass, a remote control, and a long list of fancy features about hand-matched components, employs Hegel's Sound Engine 2, which reduces distortion in real time, and if that's not enough, the music signal only passes through 2 transistors and an ultra low noise volume attenuator. So yeah, that, my friends, is a conductor. I can still remember as if it was yesterday swapping out the NAD M33, which is a really cool integrated amplifier with a ton of useful features, for the Hegel H390. Within seconds of doing that comparison, I thought to myself, oh crap, oh boy, oh no. Let's just say it was one of the only times in the history of New Record Day that I wondered if I really actually blew it in a review. And it was enough to go back and add some commentary about comparing the M33 with the H390. To be honest, and to be frank with you, it wasn't, and I'm not scared or afraid to say, not even kind of, sort of close. The H390 sounded far more robust, dynamic, vivid, and downright musical, whatever the heck that means. That amp, the H390, to this very day is still one of my favorite integrated amps that I've spent time with, and it pained me to send it back. While the Hegel sound, and we're going to get to this in just a second, might not be for everyone, the H390 was this kind of voicing that I could really sink my teeth into. The first time that I fired up the orchestra, this beast right here, I sat back and I quickly realized that this just wasn't a bigger sounding H390, but actually sounds a little more open and detailed, especially in the upper mid-range and top end. To my ears, with the H390, there was indeed something smooth and refined in the upper mid-range that made things a little less jagged, and even took some of the bright and shrill recordings, and it seemed to make them pretty much tolerable. With the orchestra, while it's still indeed smooth, refined, and definitely mature sounding, it's also letting more information through. Or, the conductor is indeed just making that last bit of difference in resolution. Electric guitars, as heard on Dire Straits' Brothers in Arms, have bite, sound ballsy, and while pretty analytical, can still be cranked to ridiculous levels before listening fatigue sets in. This reminds me, even though the orchestra does seem to be showing off that last layer of details in the music, I don't think there was ever a time while listening that I thought to myself, I'm tired. Time to turn this thing off and, I don't know, go ride a bike. Ride a bike? Me riding a bike. As if that would ever happen. Vocals across the board sound smooth and refined while giving off little nuggets of detailed information. So hearing things like mouth sounds and micro details, it's still part of the Hegel sound. It's just not the focus of the Hegel sound as far as I can tell. Voicing and timbre all sounds natural, and every vocal pitch sounds clear, concise, and clean. I don't think there is a specific coloration going on with both male and female vocals, but I do believe that there are traces of that Hegel sound that's very hard to describe, but easy to hear. The best way that I can articulate this, and forgive me for the ridiculous word salad here, but Hegel amps just draw you in. There is a grip or a suspense in the vocals that sounds both smooth and engaging at the same time, and that's not easy to pull that off. I think that staging also plays a big role in the Hegel sound, and it's a big part of this, and nothing ever sounds claustrophobic or glued together in some kind of unnatural way. No, with the conductor and orchestra playing, things go from big to shut the front door in a quick hurry, and there isn't an audiophile on this planet that won't appreciate that. So, what happens when you have 1100 watts on tap? Well, look, I'm not one of these guys who gets excited about the idea of more is more when it comes to watts, and at no point had you not told me that I would have guessed that the orchestra was slinging that kind of firepower around. Does this mean things sounded weak, wimpy, or did I find myself hoping for more control over deep and meaningful bass? No, not at all. What it does mean, and this is the point that I want to make about amplifiers in general, is if the first watt sucks, it doesn't matter what comes after that first watt. Even more, I don't have incredibly hard to drive speakers in-house like Maggie's, and even more, I don't listen to music in triple-digit decibels. And you guys don't either. You guys in the comments section. Yeah, man, can they play 100 dB? Because I only listen to music at 100 dB, 120 dB all the time. I'm rocking out 100 dB. No, you're not. Get yourself a decibel meter. You're about to be very surprised. These days, I'm comfortable with dynamic swings that might sometimes scratch 90 decibels. And for this cowboy, that is loud enough. What I would say, given my current crop of speakers in for audition, my room size, and listening volume, this amplifier does sound powerful. And at no point was I thinking to myself, man, after this review, what I really need is more watts. I'm going to say this. You will never, ever, ever convince me that you will be listening to 1100 watts while critically listening to music. I'm sorry. It's just not the way these things work. What will happen, however, is when you do hear the orchestra playing, whether it's 8 watts, 27 watts, or maybe at most 150 watts, it all sounds nice. And every single watt that is accounted for sounds absolutely stunning. Oh, and for the guys who are going to start chatting about the importance of headroom and that having that high ceiling is worth chatting about, you might be right, but my point still stands. If the first watt sucks, no headroom on any amplifier is going to save you. Lucky for us, there is nothing like that happening with the orchestra, so it has 1100 watts, and it could shake the clothes off your partner in a quick hurry, and it's going to sound freaking awesome while doing it. And with that, I'll see you Hegel-loving audiophiles in the next video.